Hello everyone, Jester Bell is back with a rather unfortunate review. Today we are going to be reviewing a series titled Harley Loves Joker. Now, if you've been following my channel at all, you know I'm a massive fan of Joker and Harley Quinn. I like them more than Batman. I like I like the classic version of Harley Quinn. I'm a classic Harley fan. These characters, Harley is what got me into Batman in the first place. She's what led me to Batman, the animated series. And I like Harley and Joker stories so much, I will even accept stories that are basically just fan service, stuff that takes away the dark aspects and just makes them a Bonnie and Clyde-esque relationship. I don't think that's the way they should be written, but I will accept that as the way they should be written, over just keeping them separate all the time like they do in comics, so in modern comics, and hopefully that'll change soon enough. But this series, you would think would be written for me because it was written as basically fan service for Harley and Joker fans. I think I need to explain how this series came about. So, it came out in basically 2017, and Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, who were doing the New 52 Harley, which was running from New 52 and going into Rebirth. They were the ones who invented Deadpool Harley, who I don't like. And but their sales had been dropping in 2017. I remember when this had happened. And so they basically came out and did an interview and said that they were doing this series to try to bring people back to read the series. And I guess they figured that this was somehow their way of reconciling with classic Harley fans and giving them what they want. So they started this as a backup-ish, like a little mini-series backed up in the Harley Quinn ongoing that was going on, and Jimmy Palmiotti got Paul Dini to write it with him. So this is a fan service series for Harley and Joker fans, but what's so bad about it? Well, I'll start with the big thing. So a lot of people, if you remember, when Suicide Squad came out, said that one of the things they really hated about Jared Leto's Joker was they thought he was kind of a lovesick puppy for Harley, and that he was just too obsessed with her and cared about her too much, and that was so out of his character. I'm here to tell you, no, that's not lovesick puppy Joker. This is. For a series called Harley Loves Joker, this should really be called Joker Loves Harley, because throughout the entire book, he is written as this really neutered boyfriend. He's not really evil. He's kind of this, I can't believe I'm saying this, he's kind of this Ricky Ricardo character in the book. He's constantly just kind of petting Harley, patting her on the head, getting her things, and just fawning over her and doting over her. When he says things that are mean, he doesn't mean it. It's all a complete joke. And the artist of the series, I believe it's Chad Harding. I don't think that not Chad Harding, who is it? I can't see. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the artist, but I don't think he's a bad artist, but he constantly draws the Joker with just this embarrassing doting face, and I was embarrassed reading the book. I was embarrassed reading this version of the Joker. Again, I will accept versions of the Joker that like Harley. I think that some of the previous original versions liked her maybe a little bit more than people want to admit, and I will accept versions like Batman White Knight, where you get a version of the relationship that is a bit healthier. But this version is just so off from what the Joker is as a character. It was totally cringy to read about. It's like, the Joker is not this Ricky Ricardo character who's just kind of laughing at how silly his girl is. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing is the word. But what makes this series so weird is, again, it's called Harley Loves Joker. I think that title is clickbait because they made her not love Joker in those comics, and now they're saying, oh wait, she does in this comic, so classic fans come and read it. But she's not despite him like giving her exactly what she wants, just being completely into her in this series, Harley doesn't seem as interested in him. She's more normal. She fights back. She seems far less interested in him in this series. And there's a moment where he's basically about to confess his feelings for her, but she just goes to sleep and doesn't really care. And it's like, again, why isn't this series called Joker Loves Harley? What have you done? This is completely backwards. And so I might have been able to accept this series. Here's another thing that just makes it so bad, and I think this is what really kills it. I might have been able to accept it if it's just like this lighthearted, candy-coated, basically plotless book that's just supposed to be fun for people to read. There's no real conflict. It's just two people, two crazy clowns running from Batman. It might have been fine to read, fine kids book. Here's what really makes the book just terrible, because despite how lighthearted it is and really plotless it is really, really inappropriate. And that's just what's so jarring. And that's one of the main characteristics of the Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti version of Harley, and why I hate her so much is that she's just so immature and so childish, and it feels like it's for a 6-year-old, but then there's just all this adult humor in it, and I hesitate to call it adult humor, just this really gross, crude humor in it. In this book, there's like several scenes where Harley's practically naked for no reason whatsoever. They nearly get to, they almost get to a sex scene. It's awful. And then they setting all that aside, there's all this artwork where a character will fall into a position and it'll reference something sexual visually. Like the characters will act innocent about it, but you know that the audience is supposed to take this in a certain way. And so it's just so crude and just so it's in such poor taste. And again, the book just feels like the only people who could like it is maybe if you're 6 and under, but it's just, but a 6-year-old is not going to be able to read this because it's so inappropriate. I actually saw someone write a review on it saying that I wanted to give this to my students, but it's way too inappropriate. So yeah, it's almost an unreadable series. It's interesting because the last 2 issues, which were actually released in a miniseries, had just Paul Dini writing it and not Jimmy Palmiotti. And that's interesting because when it was just Paul Dini on the series, it almost took away all the problems with it. It like all the crude humor pretty much disappeared. The Joker wasn't nearly as sappy as he was written before, and it's just amazing. You see where all the problems were coming from. But then when Paul Dini was writing it, and I'm a big Paul Dini fan, he added a new problem. So far the book had been pretty plotless. It started out as just Harley and Joker running from Batman, and then Harley wants to make Joker a new hideout or something, and then it just kind of shifts gears to where she's jealous of a new hench girl for the Joker or something like that. But then it kind of takes this turn, and I need to emphasize that this is a story completely about Joker being a total sap to Harley. It just takes this turn where it's trying to preach about how awful their relationship is again, but you can't really do that because their relationship isn't awful in this book. It's kind of I don't want to say idealized, but the Joker's kind of idealized in this book. He's not really evil, but he starts acting like he's starting to be a little mean to Harley when Paul Dini's writing the last issues, and she starts going through the motions of, oh, I need to get away from him again, he's being mean, and then it's revealed to her that he was just faking it the entire time, and it was just to trick this new hench girl to think that he was teaming up with her when he was going to double-cross her all along. But then we get this really weird scene where Harley goes through a dream sequence, and the modern New 52 version of her basically comes and is ripping on her about how awful she is and immature she is for staying with the Joker. And you can't really do that in this book because there's no abuse in this book. It's all sugar coated, and so it's like, what is the real message here? You're not arguing that Harley shouldn't be a criminal anymore. You're arguing that she just shouldn't be with the Joker, and she's already proving to be pretty independent. And so, what's your real argument? That she needs to be an individualist? And what I really had a problem with that scene, not only does it not add up with consistently, but we see the New 52 version standing there, and she's just so nasty looking and nasty acting. She's bitter, she's angry, she's hate-filled, and versus the Paul Dini Harley, who he's pretty writing with still some sympathetic aspects to her and still some innocence and still some empathy, even though she is crazy. And it's like, is the New 52 one that we're being presented with as the better version here, is that really a progression? Is that really a growth of her character compared to what she is now? It just seems, especially in the context of this book, it's taking someone who maybe had some innocence left in her and making her more hateful. So that message really doesn't work, and I don't see New 52 Harley as an improvement over the old one in any way. She's still an awful person, only this time she's an awfully written awful person. So, why did Paul Dini do that? I mean, he ends up ending the book where Harley and Joker stay together. It's just implied that in the future they'll break apart. Well, I think he knew what classic fans would want. I think he thought that they're not going to want to see the two break apart. But I think Paul Dini really seems affected by the modern feminist depiction of Harley, and in every book I pick up from him, he seems to want to do his version, but he almost does a shell of that version, and he seems to want to feel like he needs to tie it to the new stuff. And I would predict maybe he feels a little guilty over the way he used to write Harley, and now he's just trying to make it more progressive. That's just what I get from him, from what he's said in interviews and what he's written, and I think that's kind of unfortunate, because I think that his version of Harley was the wonderful creation. And these people that have taken over it, that have taken over his creation, are the ones who have messed it up. So yeah, that's Harley Loves Joker. It's pretty much the only Joker and Harley story I would ever say do not read. This has been pretty much forgotten. It only has like one review on Amazon for the trade. It's a book that's pretty much been forgotten. I wonder if Paul Dini feels bad about this, because this was one of the few Harley and Joker books he's written recently, and then his book doesn't sell at all. Well, these two characters would sell together. Harleen is a New York Times best-selling book right now. It's just, this is a very cringy, very kind of disingenuous version of them, and it's really kind of written for no one, because classic fans don't want the Jimmy Palmiotti style on Harley, and kids can't read this book because it's too adult, and adults don't want to read this book because it's too childish, so it's not really for anyone. But that's what I would say about New 52 Harley in general. So, negative review. This gets like a 2. I only have the second issue of it in print. It gets a 2 because some of the writing from Paul Dini for Harley is kind of fun still, and I kind of appreciate the thought of him doing the book again. But yeah, bad book. Don't read it. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time for a new review, and please like, comment, and subscribe for more reviews and more discussion on comics and movies, and see you later.